Update, my wife filed for divorce right after I inherited my mom's fortune. She thought she hit the jackpot, but my mom outsmarted her. Part 2. I thought maybe she'd be disappointed or give me one of her "you should have known better" talks. But she didn't. She listened, nodded slowly, and after a few seconds of silence, she stood up, walked over to her drawer, pulled out a folder, and said, "Take this. It should cover what you need to get back on your feet." She gave me enough to restructure things, hire temporary consultants, revamp our proposals, and get our systems running again. It wasn't a magic fix, but it gave me breathing room. And in the next few months, things did get a little better. I brought in a few new clients. They weren't as big as the ones I lost, but they helped stabilize the cash flow. I stopped waking up in cold sweats, thinking the office would shut down next week. I felt like I could finally breathe again. But while the business was healing slowly, the marriage wasn't. That was the hard part. You'd think the financial relief would ease the tension between us. But instead, it just exposed how far we'd drifted from each other. Michelle and I barely talked. When we did, it was surface level. We weren't spending time together, not because of work schedules, but because we stopped making an effort. We'd eat in the same room but barely make eye contact. We slept in the same bed but felt like strangers. I tried sometimes, but it always ended with one-word answers or silence. We both knew something was breaking, but neither of us wanted to say it out loud. So, we just lived like that for months. One evening, out of the blue, I got a call from my mother. Her voice was soft, but there was a seriousness in her tone I hadn't heard before. She asked if I could come see her the next day. I knew something wasn't right. The next day, I drove over to her place, thinking maybe she just needed help with something around the house. But when I sat down, the look on her face told me this wasn't about leaky taps or groceries. She told me that she had ovarian cancer, not just newly diagnosed. She had been living with it for nearly a year. It was already late. The treatments she'd been undergoing weren't working the way she had hoped. Her doctors told her it was time to stop thinking in terms of years and start thinking in terms of months. That moment shattered me. I sat there completely still, trying to process it, but everything felt like a blur. My mother was my rock. Ever since my father passed away 12 years ago, she had been the one constant in my life. Hearing that I was going to lose her was like hearing that the ground beneath me was about to crack wide open. I remembered just sitting there, looking at her hands and thinking how many times those hands had held mine when life got rough. And now I was the one being told to prepare to let go. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest I've ever lived through. I tried to keep my agency running, tried to keep my head above water professionally, but my heart wasn't in it. I was either at the hospital, sitting by her side, or mentally stuck in that hospital room even when I wasn't physically there. Watching someone you love slowly fade away is not something you can describe properly. I would sit there and hold her hand, sometimes in silence, sometimes talking about nothing because I didn't know how to talk about goodbye. I told Michelle what was going on, and at first, she reacted with sympathy. She said all the right things, but as time went on, I started noticing how little she was actually showing up. She visited the hospital a few times, but not often. When I asked, she'd say work was overwhelming or that she found hospitals depressing. I didn't press her. Truth be told, I'd already accepted that she and my mother never had a close relationship. They were cordial, polite even, but there was never that real warmth. So, I stopped expecting more. I didn't want to fight while I was already drowning emotionally. 2 months. That's how long my mom stayed in the hospital before her body gave up. 2 months of watching the strongest woman I know slowly lose her strength. And when she finally passed, even though I had seen it coming, I still wasn't ready. She had always told me that when her time came, she'd